Welcome back to ThisBytesForYou. In this video, I'm going to be showing you the gaming performance of the EVGA Geforce RTX 3090 FTW3 Gaming Ultra card. I'm going to show you the performance with RTX On and RTX Off as well as DLSS and all that good stuff. And in game, I'm going to be utilizing the Asus ROG Strix Go 2.4 Electropunk series headset. I'll be using this to record my voice inside the game so you guys can hear me. So let's jump in real quick. All right, so to show you the performance, I'm going to be playing games like Metro Exodus, Battlefield 5, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and Control, and I'm going to be going through all the features set with RTX On, Off, DLSS On and Off as well. I'm going to be playing it at 4K so that you guys can see just how powerful this card is. It's amazing. I'm also going to be using MSI Afterburner so that you guys can see the frames per second, the clock speed of the GPU, as well as the CPU and the CPU temperature as well. So let's get started with Metro Exodus. All right, so we are in Metro Exodus, and I just want to walk around, show you some of the detail. Looks good and everything. Top left hand corner, you can see the frame rate, you can see the GPU temperature as well as the GPU speed, the CPU temperature, the CPU percent utilized, as well as the CPU speed. Nothing is overclocked. I want you guys to see straight out of the box what the performance is like. Alright, so then also let me show you options. We're playing at 3840 by 2160 with ultra quality, VSync off. We are on an Asus 120Hz monitor, DirectX 12, so that I can show you ray tracing in a second. RTX and all the features off, Hairworks off, since that is an AMD API. Advanced physics, tessellation, texture filtering, all that good stuff turned on. Okay, I just want you to see the level of detail. Now, this game is beautiful to begin with. The graphics are amazing. It wasn't made for RTX, it was added on later on though. So I just want you to remember that. And then I'm just going to take you to one part real quick, which we'll get there in a few seconds. Notice the detail in this hallway, or this pipe. If you've never had RTX, you're going to think, yeah, this looks great. What's the deal? Alright, so look at the detail at all this mud and muck and the reflections off of the body of this beast, off of the person on the floor, and again, all the muck here on the ground. We are at about 100 and let's say 30 frames per second. So let's go ahead and turn on RTX. All right, so back in Metro Exodus, we have RTX enabled, and let me just crawl back under here so we can get started. So with RTX on, notice we're in the 80s right now. Occasionally we'll get to the upper 70s, but still, this is incredibly playable. Nobody's going to complain about this at all. Alright, so coming over here, oops. Okay, on Ultra, when you enable DLSS the first time, it sets it to high, but I set it to ultra, and DLSS is on. Okay, so we're going to walk around. Notice this grass or these twigs covered in snow. Okay, so I'm going to stand right here. Notice the detail in the snow-covered roots, the water, the reflections and everything. While it does look great, you might notice it's a little blurry. So let's come over here and let's disable DLSS. here as well. Now, that's not the major part. Notice as we're running up here, things become a little bit more detailed, and you can see the lighting a little bit better than we saw before. But if you notice, we are in the 50s frames per second wise. So the card is taking a beating right now. Okay, another aspect I wanted to show you here, okay, with DLSS off, we can notice the detail in the cage or the pipe. We can notice a lot more of the rust and a lot more of the lighting and reflection. So going to go ahead and turn it back on. You're going to notice the frames per second go back up as well. Pay attention to that. Okay, now while things look beautiful, you notice the level of detail on the walls has gotten a little bit lower. Lighting, while still great, has diminished a little tiny bit. The lighting is a little bit harder to notice. The lighting on my side could be placebo effect, but we'll compare together. And now the biggest part, you're going to notice a difference, or the part I noticed the biggest difference, is right here. Okay, so notice the skin on the beast, maybe around the shoulder blade. Looks beautiful. There's a little bit of lighting. It's blurred out. You may not be able to tell that it's blurred out, but it's blurred out right now. Look at the muck, look at the mud, look at the water on the metal and the paper and everything. It looks kind of good, but turning it off, we were in the 80s frames per second wise. Now we're back in the upper 50s. Notice the level of detail on the beast's shoulder. Notice how the pores came in. The lighting not only reflects off of the shoulder blade itself, but reflects off of the pores and just the skin of the beast, and even the reflection off of the spine looks great. Look at the muck, look at the mud, look at the paper in the water, how that became a lot more detailed, a lot more beautiful. So, you know, more beautiful. So, you know, overclocking the card and, you know, other stuff is definitely going to improve that. But we're at the lower end of the 60s, higher end of the 50s. Still playable, but not the magical at least 60 frames per second. So I wanted to show you how that looks, how it plays, and so let's jump on over to the next game. All right, so Battlefield 5, one of the very first RTX games, RTX enabled games. Everything looks beautiful, right? Or you think it does, at least. So we're in the upper hundreds, or the lower to mid hundreds. Everything looks great, but coming over here, we can see 3040 by 2160. Advanced, everything's on except for DXR. I do have HDR disabled due to the recording. It'll play fine with it, but recording wise, the GeForce experience doesn't do a great job, and nothing really does. So it's nothing bad on them. And then I also have DXR ray tracing reflections quality off. It says Ultra, but it's disabled because this is disabled. So everything looks beautiful, and we can still see some some lighting and everything, but notice those rocks look kind of fake. You know, they look blurry and all that stuff. So let me go ahead and turn on RTX. Alright, so starting off with RTX enabled, you might notice the rocks look a little bit better. Still a little bit blurry, kind of plastic toy looking-ish. So maybe a good example is right around here. So let's go ahead. Now let me show you the settings real quick. So we can see right over here, we do have RTX enabled, or DXR enabled, which is RTX. DLSS is on. And then we have all the way down here, ray tracing reflection quality set to ultra as well. Now coming back over here, let's go ahead and turn that off. Now notice the quality of the rocks has gotten so much better. The mud or clay around here has gotten so much more detailed. The reflections have gotten more beautiful, kind of going into the cracks in the rocks. Oh, where did this guy come from? He wasn't there before. So let's just come over here real quick. Let me show you some more examples of what DLSS can do. Notice the frame rate with DLSS is in the 40s. That's with DLSS off. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it back on. And now we're in the upper 70s. Incredibly playable. Still looks beautiful. But, you know, compare those jagged rocks. And that level of detail. Oh, I can't see them. So I didn't mean to get into a round here, but it kind of hurt my emotions here. Kind of hurt my feelings. So, but you can see the difference there, you know, for example, and to take you to a muddy area. I kind of lost my bearings here. I have light in my eyes, so it's really hard to see. These details are dark right now. Not excuses, I promise. Alright, so check that out right there. Oh, I want to take you to some mud. I should be able to see it right here. I want to take you to a better lit area. Alright, so right over here. Alright, so you can see that looks nice. And let's go ahead and Let's go ahead and turn back on DLSS. So you notice, still looks nice, just a little blurry. So alright, that was my quickie on Battlefield 5. Look at that right there. Alright, so DLSS on. We are getting in the upper 70s. And let's go ahead and turn off DLSS. Look at that. It's got so much more beautiful. But at the same time, look at the frame rate. So it's going to hurt you. And of course, you know, you can always turn down some details. Maybe turn it to high. That's going to give you a few more frames per second, make it a lot more playable. And it's still going to look beautiful. Look at that. But, you know, I wanted to show you at everything at Ultra. So let's go ahead and jump into the next game. Alright, so starting off with Shadow of the Tomb Raider. This game, no matter how you put it, looks incredibly beautiful. And there we go. And the lighting looks great. Everything about it just looks beautiful. And then one sec, as soon as I get under there, I'll go ahead and show you my settings.
How's your arm?
A little stiff, but okay.
Alright, so coming into options, display and graphics, we can see first off, ray trace shadow quality is set to off. Everything is set to the highest as per the settings here. Going into display, we also have DLSS off. We're playing at 3840 by 2160 with our 120 hertz over here, and as in all the games, VSync has been disabled.
How's your back?
Fine.
All right, and again, everything looks beautiful, and I want to take you over here to an area.
You can explore if you want, but I'm not going back there.
All right, so we could see right here a great example. The water looks beautiful, the mud looks nice and everything, but let's go ahead and go into options, display graphics, and by the way, frames per second wise, you know, we were in the upper 80s. Again, we're at 4K, everything's set to the highest. Okay, coming over here. So let's go ahead, ray trace quality, set that to Ultra. And let's go ahead and enable DLSS. Okay, coming out of here. Okay, notice the quality of the water got a little bit nicer. The ground, I thought that would have changed. So let's just keep going over here. And actually, I just realized it didn't change because we have DLSS on. Okay, the water got a little bit more reflective, but looking over here at the mud, at the stones, it does look pretty and everything, but you can see right around the bigger stone that this right over here, that it looks a little bit bland, a little blah, right? And especially right over here. Okay, now still that looks beautiful, don't get me wrong, but let's go ahead, turn this off real quick. Apply changes. And we were in the 40s, by the way, frames per second wise. Or, oh, actually, we're in the 40s now. Okay, notice how that looks a lot more like a rock now. And this texture, maybe it needs to reload. Okay, notice, and it's more in the rocks on this one. The mud over here, especially going into the water, looks a lot more detailed. And let's come back over here. Now we're in the 60s. Let's come back over here.
What do you think we'll find in Kwakyaku?
Running water would be nice.
I think
Kwakyaku.
at this point, I'd settle for no jaguars.
So we're almost at a good spot. I just want to make sure to get some good lighting. Alright, so right over here, you'll notice with all the roots and all the vegetation, the rocks and everything, it does look good. Let's go ahead and turn it back on. Okay, everything got a lot more cartoony. Mind you, the frame per second frame rate is, in the 80s, way past playable. And these are things that you're probably not going to notice as you're running like this through the area, away from your enemy, and things along that nature. You're probably not going to notice all that. And let's wait for this FMV to finish up.
What's going on?
Shit, Trinity, get down.
Damn.
Alright, just skipping that.
Someone should check that.
So notice the mud again with this guy.
Put it right there. Make sure nothing can get through. I want this whole area sealed
Take him
off.
out real quick.
Yes, sir. If there's anything here, we're gonna find it.
We're in the 60s, and you saw we were in the 80s. Look at the mud right along these roots. Looks very plastic-ish, or plasticky. So coming back over here, let's go ahead, turn this off again. You see how that got a lot more detailed? It looks a lot more like mud than the plasticky version did, but we did take a pretty big hit in performance. Now we could always come back in here and notice on everything the temperatures are great. The case is open right now, so the GPU is probably a little bit hotter than it would be with all the fans directly blowing over it. Let's come over here and let's go ahead. Let's drop that a little bit. Okay, we're getting about 10 more frames per second, so it still looks beautiful. And let's come back in here again. Let's put it back down to medium. You notice while I was changing it, how the graphics did change. A little kind of blurry to see because everything's shadowed out. But, you can see how that makes a difference there. And actually, it gets rid of the shadows from the tree, kind of moves them around. So that's pretty cool to see. But so that was Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I gave you, an understanding on how RTX works, especially on the GeForce RTX 3090 and the 3900 XT processor. Now, of course, there could be a lot more tweaking and tuning that needs to be done, but I wanted to show you how everything was out of the box as if you were doing this at home. All right, so let's jump on over to the next game. All right, so In Control, which was made with RTX and DLSS and everything already enabled, it didn't need support built into it afterwards. The game looks beautiful. You can see a lot of lighting you know, off of the tables and everything. A lot of reflections. It looks beautiful, and we are playing at 4K with the, not only at 4K, but at the render resolution at 4K as well. And we're going to play with that in 1 second. But I just wanted to show you how everything looks with everything at 4K. Now I'm going to come over here. Let's see how, oh, we can't see it very well there. Going to come to a place with a better reflection. Sorry, let me take care of these guys first. Oh, I thought I was going towards him. Can't go through there, it'll kill me. Alright, so right over here, you know, everything looks great. It looks cool. The graphics look beautiful no matter what you do. So now let's go ahead and turn on RTX, which I forgot to mention, everything was enabled except RTX. I'm going to go ahead, set that at the very highest. And so this is going to be a problem in a second, but I'll go ahead and turn this on. Notice when I turn this on, that drops the render resolution down to 2560 by 1440. Doesn't give you an option to go any higher than that. And that's okay. That's kind of what DLSS is for. So now things look nice, right? It looks good, but look at that. See that guy in the window? Wait, he's not there, but he's there. That's because it's this guy right over here. That guy. That's his reflection. So mind you, there has been reflective technology back in the day, but it was always a fake reflection. Now we can see ourselves running, we can see other people. This is definitely going to help in situations where you're playing maybe online and you know people are behind you. You wouldn't have caught this guy before, but now you do. Now again, since the frame rate does go down, this is something maybe you don't want to play online, or as the technology matures, it's going to get better and better and better, just like the drivers have gotten better since the initial release of the 3090. Okay, so again, notice that guy right there. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off DLSS. Okay, so everything looks great. We're kind of chugging along though. We're at 37 frames per second. Now mind you, there's other things you can do to improve that. And notice the walls just got a little bit more detailed. And coming over here. Alright, it's a little bit more smoothed out. It's kind of hard to tell but it is a little bit more smoothed out. Now this game was a lot more optimized, not totally obviously, for DLSS and RTX and everything, but it gives you a great example, you know, reflection wise. Look at that. That looks beautiful. Reflection wise on the kind of performance you can expect in this game, and of course games to come, and as they get better, the technology and the optimizations and everything for RTX and DLSS, that will improve. But I don't want to talk to her right now. I wanted to give you an idea again on everything you can expect with RTX, and I showed you with RTX on, RTX off, DLSS on, DLSS off, and you know, just showing you all that performance there. All right, so what do you think? I showed you the performance on the EVGA Geforce RTX 3090 FTW3 Gaming Ultra inside of that big bad build that I built not too long ago, and I'll go ahead and post up above so you can check out the build, and then down in the description below every single link to everything in the system so you guys can compare and contrast with your own system. I wanted to show you just how demanding RTX is, ray tracing is, how forgiving DLSS is, while still keeping the graphics looking great. Maybe not as great as with DLSS off, but still gives you a whole lot of performance. Now remember, I was playing at 4K with everything turned up, so as you can imagine, that is going to be a big hurt on any single game and any single system. And with RTX off, we were typically in the hundreds. It was great. With RTX on, with DLSS on, we were usually in the 80s, maybe upper 60s. DLSS off though, some games were very playable, and I wanted to bring you more games, but I just bought Control for this to show you guys, and I actually wanted to bring you Fortnite, but because of the Halloween event, it is so hard to get good lighting and good shading to show you the performance, you know, reflective off of glass. I just couldn't, I tried for like an hour yesterday to show that. I had to scrub the entire video, start from scratch, because I wanted to give you guys some good gaming, some good numbers, some good overall performance. With DLSS off, we got anywhere between 30 and lower 60s. Control took a beating with DLSS off. With DLSS on, you'll notice it turned down the render resolution so that it can handle it a little bit better. With DLSS off, I left that render resolution down to 2560 by 1440, and it still hurt a little bit. Bumping it up to 4K brought it down to its knees, but it's gonna get better. Brand new technology, it's always going to get better. Now with the 2.0 version, they're still developing a bunch of stuff, and yes, I just did the unboxing not too long ago, and the card is working great. No hissing, no whining, no nothing. I haven't RMA'd it. Still working great. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. What games maybe I missed RTX wise that you would have liked to have seen aside from Fortnite? I already told you why I couldn't show you that one. But aside from Fortnite, is there a game that you wanted to see that maybe I missed? I might have to go out and buy. You know, just let me know down in the comments below what you think about that, what you think about the overall video. And don't forget, click like and subscribe. That way I can bring you guys so much more. I just hit 10K. Thank you all so much. It means a ton to me. And I want you to be in there with me when we hit 100K, and I don't know how long that's gonna take, but anyway, thanks again so much for stopping by, checking out the video. I really appreciate you stopping by. Iggy out. See you guys.